Gentlemen, I'm Dr. Shalene Jomis, and for over 25 years as a urologist and men's health specialist, I've sat across from thousands of men just like you, men in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, who came to me with the same quiet confession, "Doctor, I want to surprise my wife again. I want her to feel desired, but my body just doesn't respond the way it used to." If you've been avoiding intimacy because you're worried about lasting only a few minutes, or worse, not being able to finish what you start, then what I'm about to share with you tonight could change everything. Not with pills, not with expensive devices, but with a simple, natural pre-bed ritual that takes just 7 minutes and works with your body's own design. I've seen this technique transform marriages. One of my patients, Robert, 72 years old, told me with tears in his eyes, "Doc, last night my wife looked at me the way she did on our honeymoon. I didn't think that was possible anymore." And gentlemen, it absolutely is possible. Your age doesn't have to be a barrier to passion. Your marriage doesn't have to settle for occasional, rushed encounters that leave both of you feeling disappointed. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through the exact pre-bed ritual that's helped my patients surprise their wives, reconnect with confidence, and rediscover lasting intimacy naturally, without side effects, without embarrassment, and starting tonight. Section 1, the problem, understanding what's really happening. Let me be direct with you, because you deserve honesty. After 60, your body goes through real, measurable changes that affect bedroom performance. And I'm not just talking about occasional difficulties. I'm talking about changes that can make you feel like you've lost a fundamental part of your masculinity. First, there's stamina. Maybe you remember a time when you could last 20, 30, even 40 minutes. Now, you might finish in 5 minutes or less, sometimes before your wife is even fully engaged. That's not a failure of willpower, gentlemen. That's a weakening of the pubicoccygis muscle, the PC muscle, which controls ejaculatory timing. Think of it like any other muscle in your body. When you don't train it properly, it loses tone and strength. Second, there's control. You might start to feel aroused, but then lose firmness halfway through. Or you maintain firmness but can't achieve climax at all, which leaves you both frustrated. This happens because blood flow to the pelvic region decreases with age, and the neural pathways that coordinate arousal become less responsive. I had a patient named James, 68, married 43 years. He told me, "Doctor, I love my wife more than anything, but I avoid initiating because I'm terrified I'll disappoint her again. Last month, we tried, and I lost my firmness right when it mattered most. The look on her face, I can't forget it. Now we barely touch." Gentlemen, I want you to understand something crucial. Your wife isn't disappointed in you. She's heartbroken because she misses the connection, the closeness, the feeling of being desired by the man she loves. And here's what most men don't realize. She doesn't need you to perform like you're 30 years old. She needs you to be present, engaged, and capable of genuine intimacy that lasts long enough for both of you to feel satisfied. The third change is intensity. Even when everything works, the sensations might feel muted. Climax becomes less powerful. Recovery takes longer, sometimes days instead of hours. This is related to declining testosterone, reduced nerve sensitivity, and changes in neurotransmitter production, particularly dopamine and oxytocin, which I'll explain in detail shortly. But here's the truth that the pharmaceutical companies don't want you to fully understand. These changes are not permanent sentences. Your body is incredibly adaptive, even in your 70s and 80s. With the right techniques that work with your physiology, not against it, you can retrain these systems, restore function, and surprise your wife in ways she'll remember for years. Section 2. Why pills and quick fixes fail. Now, I know many of you have tried the common solutions. Maybe you've taken the little blue pill, Viagra, Cialis, or their generic versions. And look, I prescribe these medications regularly in my practice. They have their place. But let me tell you what they don't do, because understanding their limitations is crucial. These medications increase blood flow to achieve firmness. That's it. They don't improve your stamina. They don't help you last longer before climax. They don't enhance sensation or intensity. And they certainly don't address the emotional connection with your wife. What they give you is a 4 to 6 hour window where firmness is easier to achieve. But if you still climax in 3 minutes, you've simply had a very firm 3 minutes. Michael, 71, told me, "I spent $200 a month on those pills. They worked for firmness, but I'd still finish before my wife was ready. Then I'd lie there feeling worse than before because now I had no excuse. The medication worked, but I still felt inadequate. And that's not even mentioning the side effects: headaches, flushing, visual disturbances, and for some men, dangerous interactions with heart medications. Plus, there's the psychological burden. You have to plan intimacy around pill-taking schedules. Where's the spontaneity? Where's the natural confidence? Then there are the supplements, the horny goat weed, the maca root, the proprietary blends promising male enhancement. Gentlemen, I've reviewed the research. Most of these have minimal clinical evidence. A few might provide marginal improvements in libido over several months, but they don't directly address stamina, control, or the specific muscular and neural mechanisms that determine bedroom performance. The supplement industry is unregulated. You're often getting inconsistent doses, questionable ingredients, and big promises with small results. And again, none of this teaches your body how to naturally regulate arousal, control timing, and sustain performance the way tonight's ritual will. What I'm about to share with you is completely different. It's a technique that addresses the root physiological mechanisms. It costs nothing. It has 0 side effects. And it works starting the very first night you try it, with improvements compounding over the following weeks. Section 3, the big reveal, the pre-bed ritual. So what is this pre-bed ritual? What can you do in just 7 minutes tonight that will surprise your wife and restore your confidence? It's a specific sequence that I call the pelvic reset technique, a combination of targeted muscle engagement, breath work, and sensory priming that you perform every single night before bed. This isn't about pills or creams or devices. This is about retraining the exact muscles and neural pathways that control ejaculatory timing, firmness, and sensation. Show simplified diagram of male pelvic floor. Here's the overview, and then I'll break down the science and exact steps. Step 1. Deep pelvic floor activation. 5 minutes of precise PC muscle contractions with specific breathing patterns to rebuild muscular control and increase blood flow. Step 2. Sensory inhibition training. 90 seconds of controlled arousal management to retrain your nervous system's response threshold. Step 3. Oxytocin priming. 60 seconds of visualization and light touch that prepares your brain chemistry for connected, sustained intimacy. Let me tell you about Thomas, 74. He came to me after his wife gently suggested they might be too old for this anymore. It broke his heart. I taught him this exact ritual. He practiced it every night for 1 week, just 7 minutes before bed. The following Saturday night, he initiated intimacy with his wife. Gentlemen, he told me he lasted over 25 minutes. His wife cried, happy tears, because she felt desired and satisfied in a way she hadn't experienced in years. Thomas said, "Doc, it felt like I discovered a secret superpower." That's what this ritual can do, and I'm about to give you every single detail, the science, the exact technique, the timing, everything, so you can try it tonight and surprise your wife with the passion and stamina she's been missing. Section 4. The science, how and why this works. Now let me explain exactly why this works, because understanding the mechanism will give you confidence in the technique. Your PC muscle, the pubococcygeus, is a hammock-like muscle that stretches from your pubic bone to your tailbone. It supports your pelvic organs, and crucially, it controls the valve that determines when ejaculation occurs. When this muscle is weak or poorly coordinated, that valve opens prematurely. You lose control. But when you strengthen and retrain this muscle with specific contraction patterns, you gain voluntary control over that valve. It's like learning to hold a door closed instead of letting it swing open at the slightest push. The deep pelvic floor activation exercises I'll teach you work this muscle in a way that most men have never experienced. You're not just doing random Kegel squeezes. You're performing graduated contractions, what I call the pressure wave technique, that engage different layers of the pelvic floor progressively. This increases both strength and coordination. But here's where it gets even more interesting. These contractions also dramatically increase blood flow to the entire pelvic region. Think of it like this. When you exercise any muscle, blood rushes to that area to deliver oxygen and nutrients. The same thing happens here. Enhanced blood flow means better, more sustainable firmness. It means increased sensitivity. And it means faster recovery between intimate sessions. Now let's talk about brain chemistry, because stamina isn't just muscular, it's neurological. When you become aroused, your brain releases dopamine, the pleasure and anticipation neurotransmitter. As stimulation continues, dopamine levels spike until they trigger a cascade that leads to climax. In younger men, this cascade takes longer to build. In older men, especially those out of practice, it can trigger very quickly. Hence the 3 to 5 minute problem. The sensory inhibition training in step 2 of the ritual works by desensitizing this dopamine trigger. You're essentially teaching your nervous system to tolerate higher levels of arousal without immediately cascading into climax. It's like raising the threshold on a thermostat. The heat can build higher before the system activates. Think of it this way. Imagine you're holding a glass of water, and every drop of stimulation adds more water. In an untrained state, that glass overflows quickly. But through sensory inhibition training, you're essentially expanding the size of the glass. You can hold more stimulation before overflow occurs. That translates directly into lasting longer with your wife. Finally, there's oxytocin, the bonding hormone. This is what creates emotional connection during intimacy. It's released through touch, eye contact, and visualization of your partner. The third step of the ritual primes your brain to produce oxytocin before you even engage with your wife. This does 2 things. First, it shifts your nervous system out of the performance anxiety mode and into connection mode. Second, it actually helps regulate the dopamine cascade I mentioned, providing a natural braking mechanism that extends stamina. Gentlemen, what I'm describing isn't theory. This is basic physiology applied strategically. Every urologist understands these mechanisms. What most don't do is teach patients how to harness them without medication. That's what makes this ritual so powerful. You're working with your body's natural design, not fighting against age. Section 5. Step-by-step instructions. All right, let's get into the exact technique. I want you to follow these instructions precisely. Do this ritual every night, ideally about 30 minutes before you plan to sleep. Step 1. Deep pelvic floor activation. Lie on your back in bed, knees bent, feet flat. Take 3 deep breaths to relax. Now, locate your PC muscle. It's the same muscle you'd use to stop urination midstream. Don't actually do that while urinating. Just use that sensation as a reference point. As you contract, breathe out slowly. As you release, breathe in. This breathing pattern enhances blood flow and prevents tension buildup. You should feel a deep, almost warming sensation in your pelvic region by the end. That's increased circulation. Common mistake to avoid: don't rush the contractions or hold your breath. Controlled rhythmic engagement is key. Step 2. Sensory inhibition. Training. Still lying down, place one hand on your lower abdomen. Without physical stimulation, bring to mind a mildly arousing thought. Nothing intense, just enough to create a low level of physical response. Hold that thought and sensation for 30 seconds while taking slow, deep breaths. Then consciously release the arousal, letting the sensation fade completely. Rest for 30 seconds. Repeat this cycle one more time. This teaches your brain to regulate arousal consciously. You're building a mental muscle that says, I can feel this sensation without immediately needing release. Over time, this control transfers directly to intimate encounters. Step 3. Oxytocin priming. Close your eyes. Visualize your wife's face, her smile, the way she looks at you with love and trust. Place your hand over your heart and recall a tender moment you shared, a time you felt deeply connected. Hold this visualization for 60 seconds, breathing slowly and feeling genuine affection and gratitude. This primes your brain for connection rather than mere performance. When you eventually engage intimately, your nervous system will already be in a bonded, oxytocin-rich state, which naturally extends stamina and deepens pleasure for both of you. Daily practice. Tip: do this ritual every single night, whether you plan to be intimate that night or not. Consistency builds lasting change. Within 1 week, you'll notice dramatically improved control. Within 1 month, the changes become automatic. Section 6, results and timeline. So what can you realistically expect? Let me walk you through the timeline based on what I've seen with hundreds of patients. Night 1. The very first time you complete this ritual and then engage with your wife, you'll notice increased awareness of your PC muscle. You'll feel more present, more in control. Many men report lasting 30–50% longer on the very first attempt, not because the muscle is fully retrained yet, but because the conscious engagement gives you voluntary control you didn't have before. Week 1. By the 7th night of consistent practice, your PC muscle has begun to rebuild strength and coordination. Most men report doubling their stamina. If you previously lasted 5 minutes, you're now lasting 10 to 12. Firmness is more reliable, and critically, you'll notice you can pause, breathe, and reset during intimacy without losing arousal entirely. Month 1. This is where the transformation becomes undeniable. Your pelvic floor is significantly stronger. Your nervous system has adjusted its arousal threshold. Men consistently report lasting 20 to 30 minutes or more with full control. You can vary pace, change positions, and focus on your wife's pleasure without constantly worrying about your own timing. David, 69, told me, "After 1 month of this ritual, my wife said something I'll never forget. I feel like a newlywed again." We were laughing and playful in bed for the first time in years, and I lasted long enough that she climaxed, twice. I didn't think that was possible at our age. Your wife's reaction. Gentlemen, here's what I hear from patients' wives. They notice the change instantly, not just in duration, but in your confidence and presence. You're not rushed or anxious. You're engaged with her, making eye contact, responsive to her body. That connection is what she's been craving more than anything else. The extended stamina is wonderful, yes, but the restored intimacy and attention is what makes her feel truly desired. Section 7. Bonus tips and warnings. Before we conclude, let me give you a few additional tips to maximize your results and keep your intimacy safe and healthy. Bonus tip 1. Natural circulation boosters. Certain foods enhance pelvic blood flow naturally. Dark chocolate contains flavonoids that improve circulation. Watermelon is rich in citrulline, which converts to nitric oxide, the same compound that prescription medications target. Leafy greens like spinach provide nitrates that support vascular health. Incorporate these into your daily diet for compounding benefits. Bonus. Tip 2. Morning intimacy advantage. Testosterone levels peak in the morning for most men, even in your 60s and 70s. If possible, surprise your wife with morning intimacy occasionally. You'll have more natural energy and firmness, and the ritual you've practiced will work even better. Bonus tip 3. Communication is essential. Tell your wife you're working on something special for both of you. You don't have to give details, but letting her know you're prioritizing your intimate connection removes pressure and builds anticipation. She'll appreciate your effort and vulnerability. This ritual is safe for the vast majority of men, but your individual health always comes first. When in doubt, have a conversation with your doctor. Section 8. Conclusion and call to action. Gentlemen, we've covered a tremendous amount of information today. Let me summarize the key points. Your decreased stamina, control, and intensity after 60 are caused by weakened pelvic floor muscles, reduced blood flow, and changes in brain chemistry, not by irreversible aging. Pills and supplements provide temporary, incomplete solutions that don't address the root mechanisms. The 7-minute pre-bed ritual I've taught you, deep pelvic floor activation, sensory inhibition training, and oxytocin priming, retrains these exact systems naturally. Starting tonight, you can practice this ritual. Within 1 week, you'll notice dramatically improved control and stamina. Within 1 month, you'll surprise your wife with passion and performance that brings back the connection you've both been missing. Your marriage is worth this effort. Your wife still loves you, still desires you, still wants to feel the intimacy you shared in earlier years. You have the power to give her that gift tonight. Not with expensive treatments or dangerous drugs, but with a simple, natural technique that takes 7 minutes and costs nothing. If this video has given you hope, if you're ready to try this ritual tonight and surprise your wife, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel so I can continue sharing discreet, evidence-based men's health solutions with you. And leave a comment below saying, "I'm trying this for her." That simple commitment will hold you accountable and inspire other men in this community.